Hey everyone, Tim here from Tim PTSD, and today I'm going to talk to you about my deck, the Mustang, which won the Corona Cup 4 tournament that was held by Jason Crutchfield on Octagon. So big shout out to Jason, thank you so much for doing this tournament for all of us who have nothing better to do during the pandemic, or staying home trying to keep safe, and he has created a series of tournaments for us to actually participate in. Okay, so to the deck's credit right now, it has won Corona Cup 4. It hasn't really been played as much as I would have liked to test out, but I think that it's really just an aggressive deck. So the idea behind the deck was really to go wider than any of the Sky Shadow, Horri-Bull variants that you see out there. Sky Shadow and Horri-Bull are starting out as 3 white, which ends as a pseudo 6 white. Now, the way for me to combat this is because they are also going to be heavy on orange and black. I would like to have heavy bodies on the field at the same time with the option of really going to challenge them with more attacks, and with the Horri-Bull's burn, where I really wanted to try to pick off the Sky Shadow before before it can actually attack me in a combined form. I would like to ping it off to KO one of either the plane or the tank, get Sky Shadow on the field during my turn so that I could somehow beat it before it hits me. So the deck starts off with Horri-Bull, and Horri-Bull is an amazing character from Wave 5. I personally feel it's a bit overpowered, but it is the way it is. So Horri-Bull on his body mode allows me to ping 1 damage to an enemy and 1 to himself whenever I play a black card. Now this goes really well with an orange Pierce deck, which is what I have, and by flipping him back into the alt mode, he is able to move 1 damage counter over to the opponent. Now take note that moving a damage over is not counted as non-attack damage. It's actually considered as just moving damage. So the only card that stops that is bumpers. So if your opponent has reflect damage or hollow metal projector, moving the damage will not stop it. Now with Horri-Bull taking a lot of self-harm, Kreb would be the best option to go with, and that's because he's a 2 HP character, a headmaster that comes with only 1 star. It's really cheap cost that makes Horri-Bull a total of 7 cost. This allows me to build into a deck that actually can be 4 white. The second option that I have that hits hard right now is Fangry. Now Fangry is really amazing. His stats are better than Barajon at a 6-star cost. So Barrage is 7 stars. We've always used him as a 3-11-2 on his alt mode that's able to give someone else Pierce 2. And if you flip Barrage, he's a 5-11-1 that's able to do Bow 2 on a damage character. So when attacking a damage character, that is. So Fangry alone on his alt mode is really a 4-11-2. Attacking a character that has more stars than him gives him Bow 2. I'm not going to use his body mode ability because that's giving tough when someone smaller than him hits him, and that's really the case. Now, partnering Fangry, I have 2 options. I have Vorath and I have Parsec, and of course I'm going with Parsec. Now, the Bow 1 works really nicely with Fangry's already innate Bow 2 and hitting up, and when Parsec comes out, he's a ranged character that has an innate Bow 1. Now he may be weak with 1 HP and is easily picked off by Horri-Bull and Arm Hovercraft, but he's actually able to do a lot of damage, and if your opponent doesn't have Hold the Line, they are bound to take at least 4 pierce from him. Now, Fangry with Parsec means, with the new ruling, means that he is considered both Autobot and Decepticon. Now the problem here lies with the battle cards that I'm playing later on, which I will go through. Now Nightracer is another huge body that's from Wave 5. 5 stars for 3-11-2. Like I mentioned earlier, Barrage had 3-11-2 on his alt mode. Nightracer has the same stats and it's only a 5-star character. He has a bonus being that his range, he's a car, which works well with my Nitro boosters. And if I really need to push damage, he's able to be a 4-11-1 when I flip him with an entire board Bow 1 as long as I have a secret action in play. Now, how do I get a secret action in play? That's when I'm combining it with Stealth Mission. So this makes it a total 6-star cost for Nightracer, and my 2 secret actions will be even the score. And when I have that in the field, Nightracer has a bow 1 and a 4 attack. Now, my last character is actually the hidden gem again, and this time it's Ravage. So, Ravage has proven to be so good in this deck, and that's because it's firstly starts off as a stealth. When I flip him back to this mode, he's able to give one of my other characters Pierce, which I've used multiple times. Now, being able to have stealth allows me to get some damage on him first, and then I can quickly hide away if I need to. But he really shines when he's in his board mode, where he has a 3 attack and Pierce 2. I am not using him for the tough effect, I only want his innate Pierce 2, and that's because if I were to swing at him with just 2 flips of orange and black, he's easily a 5 Pierce 4, and that's not counting any upgrades or actions. So that's it for the characters run. I will go through with you my battle cards right now, starting off with the utility slot cards, and that's 3 copies of Escape Capsule. Escape Capsule is amazing, orange black pips, 1 attack, and a utility slot, which means I get a chance to play this, ping off Horri-Bull, at the same time avoid a potential sabotage armaments from my opponent's side. Now, he works really well with Fangry and Horri-Bull because once I deploy my head, this stays on. This and any other upgrade stays on, which you will see in my whole list of upgrades, what are the other options there are. Now next I have 2 copies of Nitro Booster. Nitro Booster is amazing with the deck, with 3 of my characters, not counting the hits, being 3 attack or less. They are definitely eligible for Nitro Booster as long as you do not have any other upgrades. Now, if I'm going to use Nitro Booster, I'm definitely not going to put in any upgrades, or I'm not going to flip Nightracer into board mode. Being able to have the chance when Nightracer is tapped, Ravage can still go in as such. So if my board state is all of them are ready, and Nightracer is the first one to go up, and Ravage is my second turn, I Ravage. Ravage has a Nitro Booster on, I can always attack, I scrap this, Ravage readies up, I'm going in for a 3 Pierce 2 minimum before flips, and my opponent is forced to hit into Nightracer once again. So Nitro Booster is really, really good, especially in combo with the rest of my battle cards that you will see later. Next, we have Fusion Borer. Now, Fusion Borer is an insane card that's in Wave 5 as well. It is the grenade launcher for Pierce decks. 3 attack, 3 Pierce, and a black pip. Definite guaranteed damage. Now, I have 2 copies of Sturdy Javelin and 1 copy of Paralyzer Box. The reason being, I treat them all as white pip upgrades, which I need more white pips in my deck. But at the same time, I treat them as base damage, raw damage attack power. Sturdy Javelin provides 2 attack to melee. I only have Nightracer and Parsec as the range for me to shoot 2. Now, I've opted to play 2 copies of Sturdy Javelin over 2 copies of Paralyzer Box instead, was because this definitely gave me a 2. I did not want to come to a game point where I really had to bank on getting Paralyzer Box right. I'd rather have solid fixed damage which I could calculate, and also have the chance of having a ranged character. Say if Sturdy Javelin was on Fangry with an Escape Capsule, if Fangry died, Parsec will come out with a Sturdy Javelin ready to burn someone. Now, Paralyzer Box is really dependent on the deck matchups I meet. If I have someone who is more heavy mix with orange and black, if I were to call orange, I could easily get a black pip instead. So it's not ideal, and that's why it's only 1 copy. I'm ignoring the green pip for range most of the time because I'm only lucky for it when Nightracer gets flips this on the attack or defense. Next, I have Combat Dagger. 3 copies of Combat Dagger. Easy enough. Bow 1, orange black pip, definite fixture for the weapon slot. And last weapon in my arsenal is Power Punch, 3 copies. Now, I've opted for Power Punch over Grenade Launcher was because I am going for Pierce rather than raw damage. With the number of orange black pips that you can see, and for later on with the actions, you will see that I'm able to actually get a lot of guaranteed damage across the board. Okay, moving on to the actions. First up was what I've mentioned earlier, even the score, and that's with the Nightracer Stratagem. 2 copies of this star secret action is definitely the best one to play because I have all Decepticons except for Parsec, and when they take more than enough attack damage to be KO'd, they transfer the balance attack damage to the attacker. Now this doesn't count as non-attack damage, this is actually attack damage, and so it's fine. I can KO this after the effect is used, but this is definitely more detrimental to my opponent. Next up, we have 3 copies of Peaceful Tyranny. Now, 3 copies of Peaceful Tyranny is really the staple in most aggro decks. 2 pips on the flip, definitely the go-to. With the 2 more pips on even the score, that rounds out my double pips to 5. I am not playing Improvised Shield, and the reason being that I really do not like having Improvised Shield in hand when I draw it. I like all my cards in my battle deck to be fully usable. I do not want to draw into a card that could potentially put it discarded for a green pip. I'm not running incoming transmission, so having a double pip in my hand is also kind of useless. Now, Peaceful Tyranny has some use at times. I have used it to KO a Horri-Bull or Fangry for a massive attack swing on a crucial turn, but so I still think there's some playability to it, whereas Improvised Shield is a total dead card in my deck. Next, we have Designated Target. Now, with how wide this deck is, there's a very high chance that the Pierce effect will be able to translate over 2 to 3 characters, and it being a double black pip as well guarantees me damage done to my opponent on the flips. Fight for Position is slightly weaker supercharge, but I will definitely trade for that to have the additional black pip in with the orange pip itself. So Bow 2, definitely a great card to have. Now the other Bow gem would be this Heat of Battle. So Heat of Battle allows all characters to get Bow 3 and Tough 3 until end of turn. Now this with Nitro Booster can be really, really amazing. So with Nitro Booster is a black pip card, so I could burn 1 from Horri-Bull using this. At the same time, if I were to attack my character and I ready him again, Nitro Booster get the character to benefit from Bow 3 twice. And on top of that, if you read the text from Combat Dagger, black pip actually lasts for the turn. So for each black pip you flip when attacking, the attacker gets Pierce 1 until end of turn. Heat of Battle is Bow until end of turn. So anything like, say for example, if I'm having really bad flips, I could be flipping blacks instead of anything orange and black, the black stays on. So in subsequent flips, I could potentially be flipping oranges to offset that, and I could even pierce for higher amounts. So it's definitely not a waste. And of course, it goes for the white pips. So in total, my deck has 5 white pips, and I like to keep it that way because even with all the Bow, sometimes I feel like I'm flipping 2 or 3 whites within that combat. So I'm not a big fan of having more white pips. Next, I have 2 copies of Wedge Formation. Being a green pip is really great for this because I have been saved so many times from Arm Hovercraft or Cayman Crash by repairing 1 damage from one of my characters. Now most of my characters are melee, so they definitely get a repair bonus, but if I do have Nightracer on the field, I get to draw an additional card. I have a total of 17 upgrades here. So sometimes there are games when I'm actually struggling to find an upgrade. Wedge Formation has helped me cycle through to get one. Next we have Cayman Crash, another wave 5 card. This is amazing with Horri-Bull, absolutely amazing. It destroys the enemy and allows me to push up to 5 damage that turn without even attacking that particular bot. So Cayman Crash does 2 damage to an enemy in exchange of 1 damage to mine. In conjunction with Horri-Bull, that's 1 additional damage, that's 3 damage total. If I were to play Black Pip, that's 4 damage. And if Black Pip upgrade, if I played something like that, that would be 4 damage to an enemy. And if I were to flip Horri-Bull, it's moving 1 more, so the enemy would have taken 5 damage this turn. And that's before any attacks. Now the reason I play 2 copies of Cayman Crash instead is because I wanted more orange pips. Too much black pips and your ratio kind of get lost in the mix. I'd rather have orange over black predominantly. Now next is 3 copies of Magnetic Dysfunction Ray, MDR, and this card is an absolute beast against Autobots. Now those of you who know me, I am a huge Decepticon guy. Autobots are scum. This is the card I have always wanted to see ever since Press the Advantage came out, and I was so disgusted by it. But this is the card that really turns the game around against Autobots, and that's why most of the meta you see now, apart from Perceptor, you don't really see many Autobots out there. So with MDR, even though you are doing damage to yourself, because it's to each character, if your opponent somehow has an Autobot, they take more. With the new ruling, Fangry will take more because he has Parsec as a head, who's an Autobot. Now, with this MDR, you are pushing damage, you are trying to speed up the game. So there are many times where even though I'm taking damage, it's perfectly fine because there are chances that I'm actually going to be one-shotted the next turn anyway. So I might as well just push the damage to my opponent so that I could one-shot him. More burn comes up in the form of Precision Fire and lastly Rock Toss. Now these two are also other non-attack damage cards. Now Precision Fire is similar to MDR where we are doing damage to each character in a particular mode this time. Your opponent could be in a state where there's all bot mode or all alt mode or all body mode, and this would do wonders. Yes, you might take a bit of damage on some of your characters, but with an orange black pip and a chance to do non-attack damage, this is magnificent. Lastly, of course, Rock Toss. Rock Toss is do 1 damage to a tapped enemy. This really shines with Horri-Bull as well because you're just doing a lot of non-attack damage to that character. Okay, now that we're done with the battle deck, you would have noticed that I do not run any removals of sorts. Now, in all the tests that I've done, it's never come to a point where I felt like I needed to remove something. There's never been an armor that I really wanted to remove. Even if it's force field, I would easily be able to ping off the damage and then just swing in for 4 PS4 kind of thing. In terms of weapons, if like say it's a blue deck, because orange decks usually have their weapons drop after that. It's a one-time use, so there's no real point. So blue decks tend to have like Energon X or a blaster in place, be it nobles or scoundrels, and it's never come to a point where I really wanted to remove it. I just assumed that they were just one of those big characters that hits hard. Yeah, most of the time my characters, without any blue pips in my deck, they are going to be one-shotted anyway, so I play along that line. So it's never come to a point where I really wanted a hard removal. So the way I went about it was just to go being aggressive. Everything in my deck is meant to output damage. Now, going into the sideboard, and this was because Neil also requested for this on Facebook. You were all curious about why Sound Blaster is my sideboard of choice. Now, throughout all the testing I've done, it seems to fare okay. It seems to fare well against less white decks and blue decks in general. But it always seemed to have a struggle with Metroplex. So with Metroplex, the way I countered it was to go slightly smaller, but of course with a big guy. So I do have a lot of various combinations when it comes to sideboarding out. If you were to read the article, you could see a full list of it. But briefly, I could show you like this. So Horri-Bull and Fangry, they're both 7 stars. Nightracer and Ravage, they're both 5 stars. If I were to take out Nightracer, the stealth mission would go like this with it. I would just keep 1 even a score in the deck, just to have 1 double pip, whereas the other one gets sided out because of lack of stars. Now, Ravage could be sided out if I didn't need a Pierce, if I were to go up against a more aggressive Metroplex style deck. So it's really a mixture. With Sound Blaster's board mode ability, it combos really well with Horri-Bull. Now, when I attack, I can play a black weapon from my scrap pile onto Sound Blaster. So, doing this is actually playing a card. So, Horri-Bull's body mode ability actually triggers. So, that's actually an additional burn for that turn. If I needed to really swing hard, Fangry could be the choice. It really depends on the type of Metroplex I'm facing. If it's one of those Metroplex that depends on his small boys to do some blocking of damage, Horri-Bull will be great because Horri-Bull will be able to ping off Metroplex's guys, which are, I think, 3, 4, and 5 HP respectively. Alternatively, if it's really a solo kind of Metroplex, Fangry is the guy to do the job. With 11-2, he's already 13 effective health. He's definitely really... In fact, it's definite guaranteed bow 2 against Metroplex. I have a chance to even swap the hits and keep Kreb on him and Fangry, just to have a bit more health to survive through. So it's really a combination. Do I need more health? Do I need more damage output? Do I need to guarantee Pierce? What kind of deck am I facing before I decide to sideboard Sound Blaster? Now, Sound Blaster is really a beefy character. I like that he has 16 HP for 12 stars. He has that inbuilt 6 attack on the bot mode, and so he is easily one of the better choices for a black deck to go with. So when I flip him back to this mode, I can move a weapon from him to one of my other characters, and that's where the sideboard comes in with 3 Disruptor Blades to replace MDR. So MDR is really quite wasted against Metroplex because it's one maximum 2 bots. Usually he won't have more than 2 other small boys out, so I wouldn't bother with MDR. I will go with more upgrades so that my ratio balances out as well. Sound Blaster gets to put it in case I don't draw them, he gets to play it back from scrap. Alternatively, I have enough black cards that this likely wouldn't scrap, and I get to transfer this onto another character, and he even gets an additional +1 attack for the turn. So this becomes essentially like a grenade launcher for that turn. Now my other sideboard cards is Counter Espionage and Decipher. Now these two are really because of a particular deck type that I faced, which is the Perceptor, Nightracer and Pounce. So they really run a lot of secret actions, and I really think Pounce is has a lot of potential in them. With Spy Master's Rules, Pounce is hitting like a truck. Counter Espionage allows me to get rid of the secret action that I do not want to really face for that particular attack. It depends. It's hard for me to tell you what I'm going to call for. It really depends on the board state at the time. What has my opponent flip through Perceptor? The chances of getting into a Sabotage Armaments, Heroic Resolve, and Hostilities, Reflect Damage, Hold the Line even. There are so many different secret actions that could potentially be a threat depending on who's going out and all. Yeah, so this is really good because even if I can't see that particular secret action, it might not be the one that I was thinking it was. I definitely get to see it and I get to play around it. If he had it in hand, he has to scrap it. So I get to see his hand, I get to see what's on the field. It's a really great card. Now, Decipher on the other hand was really meant to punish the Pounce decks. Like I didn't, I've had games where the Pounce decks had 2 Spy Master's Rules with secret actions on it. With this, if I had Decipher, then it would have easily been 2 damage across the board. So Decipher is really just that one counter to a particular deck style. Hollow Metal Projector was really in there for the mirror matchup, and I never actually had to sideboard it in because I always felt like if they were pinging my Horri-Bull means my Horri-Bull at the most will get 1 turn worth of pings before I had to flip him back and try to salvage some health. Hollow Metal never seemed to really bother me. I would just rather focus on beating my opponent rather than having to worry about a green pip. Next is, lastly, is the increased durability. The reason I'm going with the armor rather than enhanced power cell in the utility slot is because I have nothing that's in the armor slot in my deck. I have 5 utilities and the rest are upgrades. So weapons, sorry. So with this 4 health, it actually helps a lot, and that's because if I were to play an armor and my opponent were to play like Bashing Shield or Disassemble or Reprocess, it's good for me. Firstly, it repairs me, it lets me draw a card, or if it's Bashing Shield, it's definitely not playing Combat Pump. It's not playing a weapon that's going to do more damage to my characters that turn. So in either aspect, it's either I have more health, like say if Horri-Bull is at 10 HP, I play this down, the health kicks in first because you resolve this, and then I resolve his ability to ping for damage on the black. So either way, it benefits me greatly if I needed the extra health. So there you have it. That's my deck. That's the Mustang that we have that won Corona Cup 4. There's definitely more in-depth discussion in my article, so it'll be good if you guys wanted to know more information to check that out. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have tried the deck yourselves. Let me know what can be improved, what works for your local meta or not. I know some people have a lot of cars running around in the meta, so they play Lose the Initiative, which also works well because of orange, black and green. So yeah, thank you guys. This is Tim from Team PDSD. PDSD out.